It's impossible for someone to tell me you are simply happy. It's impossible. How do you, okay, so this is another one too. How do you feel about when people, this is like all over social media about like finding your purpose and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think what a lot of people do is relate finding your purpose to a specific career, a specific job, doing something, when I have a completely different definition or reasoning behind like what I feel and what I consider like should be your purpose. Mm-hmm. I truly do feel that someone's purpose should be to live to their fullest potential, regardless of what it is. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people waste a lot of fucking time trying to find their purpose. Yeah. And they spin their tires and they're on this fucking perpetual hamster wheel, just fucking running and running and running. And because they haven't found it yet, or they feel from all of these people on the internet that in order to be successful, you have to find your purpose. So they relate finding your purpose to, well, I haven't found anything I really love and I'm really passionate about, so I'm going to keep on trying to find that because I want that success, and I haven't found it yet, so I'm just going to stay on this wheel here. I'm just going to stay on the wheel. When I fully disagree, because I think there's so many people that get caught up in that, and they waste way too much time, they waste way too much money, they waste way too much energy. When really all they really should do is fucking pick something, and be the best you could be at it. And try to inspire as many people around you to do the same. Mm-hmm. That should be someone's purpose. I think people spend way too much time to finding their passion rather than focusing on being effective.
Mm-hmm. And do you think perhaps like pursuing that purpose in the way that you say, like achieving your greatest potential and influencing the most amount of people will also be the quote unquote like key to happiness? That you will reach like peak happiness when you're at that level of, call it, success and influence?
No.
Yeah. The reason why I asked that is because there's a study that was done looking into Olympians, like gold medal Olympians, peak of their sport they've dedicated their life to. And what's interesting is they essentially like studied gold medal Olympians several years, even decades after they actually end up winning the gold medal. And pretty much like 90% of them said that they were like wildly depressed, wildly anxious, like not what that you would consider quote unquote happy when they were at their peak of their athletic career and arguably their biggest success in their life. Right. And what's interesting is that I think a lot of people,
they were upset at that point from when they won that medal? Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily upset, but they wouldn't consider that being their peak happiness.
Oh, they wouldn't consider that being their peak happiness. Yeah.
Right. Because probably a lot of people looking at somebody wearing gold medal around their neck up on a podium. Now, this is not always the case. Yeah. But what people, let's say when they're watching it on TV, they're like, wow, that person not only has achieved their greatest success, but probably is also the happiest that they've ever been. Yeah. Right? Like people, I think your average person would just assume that association. Whereas what was interesting is that they end up finding that, the gold medal Olympians were not experiencing peak happiness, because it is, I mean, you know as a business owner, right, as a successful business owner, it is a fucking grind to get there, right? And that doesn't necessarily lead to, and all the sacrifices that you have to make, how fucking exhausted you are all the time, probably sacrificing a lot of like quality relationships and all this other stuff in order to get to that peak, because in order to get to that peak, often it's like, okay, what are you willing to sacrifice that other people aren't willing to sacrifice in order to get to the top? Right? And ultimately that could cause things that aren't necessarily making you happy.
It for sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I also completely disagree with the term happy. I don't think people can just simply be happy. I fully disagree with it. I think you could be happy more often, or experience happiness more often, but you'll experience all kinds of emotions on the spectrum. No one can come to me. It's impossible for someone to tell me you are simply happy. It's impossible. You're happy sometimes, you're sad sometimes, you're depressed sometimes, you're angry sometimes. The only thing that you can do is be happier more often. And what I think contributes to happiness more often is freedom to do certain things that you want.
I was just about to ask you that. Yeah.
That's it. That's why I try to give, for example, you guys a lot of autonomy, right? Where, at the end of the day, you could do whatever you want, so long as like we still keep channels of communication open. And I don't care if it's like on the other side of the world or whatever, it's relevant. You know, obviously we're more effective in person, but hey, listen, like, you know, I get it. Like, I understand that people like that, you know, and that's probably why I don't necessarily experience the same level of happiness as some other people do, is because I do realize that not being here, I am less effective at what I want to do. And by me being less effective for what I want to accomplish, I have to be here, which somewhat restricts my freedom to do what I want, which people think, oh, Dan, you know, you're a business owner, you're free to do whatever you want. Yeah, I'm free to do whatever I want at the cost of my businesses potentially suffering, because it is what it is. It's reality, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, at the end of the day, like, listen, like, and you've seen this too, there's a different tone when I walk into one of my businesses versus someone else. You know that, right? Like, the fucking time stops, right? When I walk in, you know, and people take notice. I remember I was in the golf course, and I went there with my buddies, and Marlena told one of the servers, she told me this after, she told one of the servers that, oh, hey, by the way, Dan's coming in, and the server got really nervous. Like, I'm not joking, like, came in to eat, and he actually went like, oh shit, to Marlena. And I remember when I went in there to check out the wedding, because there was a wedding being set up on the Friday night, which I wanted to go into the venue and see it. And I remember the kitchen door was cracked open, probably for heat or whatever like that. And then I remember someone in the kitchen saying, he's here, shit. Like, something like that, like, oh shit, he's here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, that doesn't, I get it, right? Like, that there's a different tone when that happens. So when shit's hitting the fan and I walk into somewhere, time stops a bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that is because people take note and they recognize that, you know, I'm the be all end all in my businesses, and whatever I say goes at the end of the day. And you can't, it's hard to replicate that. No matter how much power and how much authority I give somebody in a business, they'll never have the same as what I have. But at the same time too, it's not always, that amount of responsibility is like, it's like heavy weighs the crown. You know what I'm saying? It really does. Like, that whole thing about that other manager, that shit gets me, you know, like that kind of shit, like it weighs on you. It really does weigh on you. And if you're not capable of figuring out how to live a very uncomfortable lifestyle, if you're not okay with it, you're gonna live a really shit life. And, you know, to be honest with you, I remember watching this one thing about Elon Musk, and I'm not comparing myself to Elon Musk, but, you know, at the same time too, like, maybe I work as much as him. I don't know. Who knows, right? I'm not going to not compare myself to him, and what he said in this statement, saying that he does not recommend his lifestyle for anyone. It's extremely unhealthy. It's extremely, you know, unbalanced, and he doesn't recommend it for. I think he might have even used like his worst enemies. And I actually agree. It's not what you see on social media, you know, being a business owner. And I've tried to actually look at myself and wonder, like, what is it that drives me then? Because I'm probably not the happiest person in the world. Again, you know, heavy weighs the crown. You know, I'll lose sleep all the time over dumb shit and like stuff that gets me, especially personnel issues. Yeah. You know that. And that's because I care, right? I do have empathy at the end of the day. That only goes so far, but I do have it. There's massive stressors. There's major financial obligations. Yeah. There's hundreds of people that rely on me and us to put food on the table. It's not the greatest lifestyle. It's actually not. So I don't know what the driving force is for me to continue to do this. Maybe it's that carrot down the road where, hey, I can, you know, retire a billionaire, or, you know, as the goal, or whatever the case is. I don't know what it is, but I have actually asked myself that, and I don't know how to answer it. I don't actually understand how to answer the question of why I continue to like push myself and like push boundaries all the time if the quality of life that I live is not the greatest. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's really weird, and I don't have an answer for it.
What are some possible reasons that you've contemplated?
I think I was always told, I keep on maybe going back to this, but I was always told that I'd be a failure in life. I wouldn't amount to anything. So maybe, getting to that milestone of like 1 billion, maybe is like to say, haha, fuck you kind of deal, Not that I can't say that now, but, maybe that billion just like drives that fucking knife even deeper. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it, to be quite honest.
And what's interesting is...
I'm going to cut you off on this.
Yeah.
One of the things that I actually do think is that once you get so far, and once that freight train starts moving, you can't stop it, right? I feel like there's like a freight train that is moving and I can't stop it. And I don't want to stop it. I want it to go faster, and I want to put more carts on it. And I want the freight train to be faster, heavier, and longer than every single one of our competitors. So that when they try to stop it or get in front of it, or say put something on the tracks, I'll just blow the fucking thing up and just keep going and not even lose a mile of speed. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the things that I feel is, come to think of it, now I'm thinking of it, maybe this is why. I am competitive in nature, and maybe it's my competitive nature that's the driving force for this to, beat out competition. Maybe that's what it is. Like, because whenever something comes up and it's like a competitive type of scenario, I fucking can't stand losing any ground whatsoever to anybody. I remember playing sports and I would get fucking sick to my stomach at the notion of not performing at my best, as well as like losing ground to competition or losing in general. I would it would almost get to the point for me where I would rather not even like play if there was like this. I had like this crazy fear of failure, and I still think that I do. And I think that now that this freight train is moving and I don't want to stop it, I think that's maybe that's a driving force of, beating out all competitors and playing this game and relying on my competitive nature to continue, keeping that freight train going. I don't know. I'm not really sure.
And see, from me getting to know you over the last couple of years, I don't see there being any train station of when this train is coming to a stop.
Yeah. Right? I don't have...
It's not like it's going to come to a stop and you're like, oh, I'm just going to relax now and enjoy like retirement or whatever. Like, I feel like you'd retire and then you'd start your next business. Yeah. Right? Like, that there's no... Like, if the train ever did stop, you'd be like, okay, like, I'm leaving the next minute. Yeah. Right? Like, I think that's your, like, passion or purpose or obsession or whatever you want to call it, is like the actual, just like the fucking motion of the freight train, not the actual, like, there's no destination that you're trying to get to faster necessarily. You just want to get fucking faster and faster and faster. Yeah. So I don't know.